Hello my friends, welcome to my corner, and I mean that literally because we are here back in the good old corner. By the way, I really don't like it when people abuse the word literally these days. You know, when somebody says something like, it literally killed me or something like that, I'm like, well, obviously not, right? But when I say literally, I do mean literally. So we are going to do one of those good old summer book hauls, CDs, also movies and all that good stuff. And to me, the word summer is a little bit flexible, okay? To me, summer means the day that I finally submit the grades, because I do not teach during the summer. So when I'm done with the spring semester, as far as I'm concerned, that's the beginning of summer. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I bought. But speaking of the semester, let me show you something that I am really happy about. This semester I got some wonderful art from one of my students, and as far as I know, this is the first time that somebody draws me. So I was really happy about that, and I just wanted to share that with you. So the first thing I want to do is I want to share with you the typical thing that I do when my birthday comes. I get one book, one movie, and one album. So let's begin with that as we usually do. So for the album, I got Plastic Letters by Blondie, which was one of the ones that I was still missing. This is the remastered edition, which comes with 17 tracks, 4 of which are bonus tracks. So really good album. I really enjoyed it. It's between the first one and this one. You know, I'm not sure which one I enjoyed the most. So far, of course, my favorite is Parallel Lines, but I also enjoyed Auto-American very much. For the movie, I got a movie that you have heard me talk about before, because I did a video on His Motorbike, Her Island. And after I did the video, I realized that a company had, released a DVD and also Blu-ray of it. So I was like, yes, I want to have this movie. So this is the one that I went with for my birthday choice. And for the book, here's something that I do want to tell you about, so please stay tuned. I have A Tale Unasked by Lady Nijo. It's one of those, it's comparable to the Pillow book, the Gossamer Years, which I also showed you in a book haul before. So this is something that we want to explore, we need to explore. Let me correct that. So I'm going to try to switch around. Actually, before we go into the other stuff, let me show you some stuff that I got for my brother's birthday. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, because he is literally, once again, in the room next door. So what if he overhears? This would be a surprise that would be ruined. So let me just show you, and hopefully the camera will cooperate here with us, and I can show you what I have right here, this little thing, and then a couple of things that are very tightly related, things that I know that he is interested in, and the other one is this one right here. So there it is. And once again, I didn't want to ruin this. It's supposed to be a surprise, so let's keep it that way, right? So don't tell him. We're going to start, we're going to switch around. I'm going to show you some books, some movies, some CDs. The first book that I have right here is something very interesting that I found at the library. And I feel that this is one of those books that I needed to read. I just went into the library to get something that I had ordered or something like that. And I noticed that they had this Healing Back Pain, The Mind-Body Connection by Dr. John E. Sarno. It's about back pain and the possibility that many times at least it is connected to psychological issues. Library sale, they had Fame, and I just had to get it. I've seen it only once. This is a classic, great music, so I want to experience that again. I also found, as usual, most of these are from library sales, so they were really affordable. We're talking $1, 50 cents, stuff like that, maybe $4, some of the books, depending on where I bought it. But I got this Penguin edition of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to tell you so you can see how ridiculous I can get sometimes. I have this exact same book, this exact same edition, at the storage in a box. So I was like, it is so complicated to get to that box. I know where it is, right? But getting to the exact box, moving everything, that I was like, this is only $1. I might as well just buy it. Then I can give it to somebody else. I can offer it to my students, for example. This past semester, I offered to my students a copy of 100 Years of Solitude. So I hope they enjoy it. I got this one also by Live. I don't know if you can see it very well here, but this is their most well-known album, Throwing Copper, right? So it's the one that has the classics like All Over You, what's the other one? Lightning Crashes, right? All of those good songs. So it was also $1. I was like, yes, I would like to listen to that. I found really nice, you know, those Oxford editions, a very short introduction. So I found 3 of those. Let me show you. I found the one on Nietzsche, which is really interesting. They're all very brief, of course, as the title indicates. Then they also had probably sold by the same person or donated by Heidegger. And then the other one is the one on Freud. So really interesting stuff. I would like to read these quick introductions before I go deeply into the work of these authors. So that's what I like about those. And I think these are also from the same person, because here we have it's an introduction to it's a philosophy guidebook to Kierkegaard, and specifically Fear and Trembling. So this one is a little bit longer, you know, it's over 200 pages. So I really like that. And similar, same publisher and everything, Critical Thinkers on Gilles Deleuze. Also a rather longer one than most of them. It's 170 pages. So I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more, getting an overview, you know, before I go into the works of these authors. Look at this. The Greatest Hits by Starship. I really like them. It has some songs that are actually from Jefferson's Starship. As you may know, it was Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship, and then Starship, and then they continued developing into other things, but those are the main ones. And I finally found the Iron Maiden album that I was missing, the only one, as I told you in my previous book haul, or CD haul, movie haul, which is the Book of Souls. So unfortunately, I still haven't had time to listen to it, but I will very soon. Let me see, what else do we have in terms of, let me show you some more books before we go into some more music. At the same library sale, the monthly one that I go to, I found The World According to Garp by John Irving. Of course, I have not read this, so I feel that that is something that I do need to explore. And from Half Price Books, one day I found 2 books that I had been looking for. One of them I was not expecting to find. The other one, I had seen it before. Let me show you that one first. This is Mon, or The Gate, by Natsume Soseki. I really like Soseki. I have talked about I Am a Cat, if you're interested. I have read many of his novels, like Kokoro, like Sanjuro, like Bochan, Kusamakura, many of them, but not this one, which, you know, is supposed to be his favorite from the ones that he wrote. And the one that I was not expecting to find was Frost in May by Antonia White. This is the story of girls in a convent school. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I had it on my wish list. It was not the kind of thing that you find usually at Half Price Books, but I just went and it was there and I was like, yes, this is good. You know, exactly what I was looking for. I also found, also at Half Price Books, Reader's Guide to T.S. Eliot. This one goes poem by poem, so this should be interesting. You know, I have read many commentaries and stuff like that on the poetry of Eliot, but having it in one book like that, very manageable volume, is a good thing for me. I showed you in the previous book haul that I did that I had gotten the LP vinyl version of Scandal's album, Warrior, right? And I told you that I was waiting for the CD version. Here it is, okay, so this is it. I also found these, the next 2 are from a library also, Into the Wild by John Krakauer. So this is the one that the film is based on, of course. So I thought, you know, it's a quick read, apparently. It should be interesting. I really liked the film, so I do want to check it out. And also a film adaptation or a film connection that we have right here is The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznik. You know the film Hugo by Martin Scorsese, of course. So this is a graphic novel. You know, it has words, it has drawings, all sorts of things. So it's a really interesting read. I read it very quickly. I recommend it to you because it really is a very quick read that you can take care of in a few hours probably. And I enjoyed it very much. It's a really nice story about cinema. So, you know, what's not to like, right? Very well written too. And the art is also really nice. When I found the live album that I showed you before, they also had No Need to Argue by the Cranberries. The Cranberries are a band that I can't really claim to be a huge fan of because I really haven't explored their music that much. It was the kind of band that I was looking for a greatest hits or something like that. Their greatest hits looks really good to me. But I was like, they have this one. It's their best-selling album, right? I know many of the songs, so why not? It was only $1 or so, and I decided to check it out. Somebody told me about Hotel du Lac by Anita Brookner. Apparently online, many people have been talking about it, and they say it's a really good either novel or novella. It's 180 pages, so it looks like a novel. So I do want to explore this one and to read that, and I may share my thoughts on it with you or not, depending on how I feel. Also at a library, the library is always like saving my life when it comes to books and movies and music. The Uses of Enchantment by Bruno Bettelheim. This is a classic, and I do love folktales. I actually teach folktales in my classes. I make, quote unquote, my students write a paper, as a matter of fact, which is a folktale analysis. They get to choose the folktale. We analyze Little Red Riding Hood in class, using the theories of Karl-Heinz Mallet. Very interesting article, if you can find it, Little Red Riding Hood rated R. So we look at that, and then my students write a paper on folktales. So it's really something that I can also use in my classes. And I found something that I have not seen, which is the first two Avengers movies, because I do need a silly movie every now and then, believe it or not. I have seen the last two parts. I can't remember what they're called, Infinity War and Endgame. I think that's it. But I have never seen these. So there they are. I'm going to check them out now that I have some free time. So that is right there in my future. I went to a bookstore with my mother a few months ago, probably, or a few weeks. It's a religious bookstore. And I found something that I was missing, which is G.K. Chesterton's book on St. Thomas Aquinas. I have his book on St. Francis. It's somewhere here, probably behind me, and I enjoyed that very much. I am more of a Francis person than I am a Thomas person, but still, I really I have read St. Thomas Aquinas, quite a bit of his work, quite a few entries of his Summa Theologiae, and I really want to finish, because I have started Chesterton's book on him, because he's just always a delight to read. On a lighter note, I have here Mannequin and Mannequin 2, because once again, I do need a silly movie. By the way, Mannequin, I love that movie. And it has that music by Starship too, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. So check it out, it's a good film. It puts me in a right mood, in a good mood when I'm not feeling that good. So I really appreciate that. There's here I have a book of essays on Albert Camus. As you can imagine, this series, 20th Century Views, let me see if I can tell you who publishes this. It's Prentice Hall, right? And they always cover the entire work of the author. So you get lots of general essays, for example, Camus in America, Albert Camus militant, right? Sartre versus Camus, that should be interesting. I'm really interested in that. But then also, of course, essays on The Stranger, on The Plague, Exile in the Kingdom, a great collection of short stories. And there should be something about The Fall somewhere here, but apparently I cannot find it right now. But I'm pretty sure they have at least a comment on that final and very interesting, structurally speaking, novel by him. I have Syriana by, who directed this? Stephen Gahan. I am not familiar with the work of the director, but I watched this film some time ago. It's a little bit complex, so I want to watch it again. I enjoyed it very much, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I'm missing right there in the whole story. I also have here Howard's End by E.M. Forster. I do need to read more by Forster. I have read A Passage to India, enjoyed it with some reservations, just personal ones, of course, nothing to do with the merit of the work or the author or anything like that. But I remember loving the film adaptation of Howard's End, one of those cases in which I watched the film without reading the novel, so I do want to do something about that one of these days, eventually. There was an event at my college at one point, and it was for the adjuncts. So we were preparing a day of presentations, and for opportunities for them to connect. And everybody got a free book that they could choose. They had like 6 options. Of course, I was the guy sitting there who had looked at the 6 books, and I could tell them, and advise them on which one to choose depending on their preference and all that. Of course, I would do something like that, right? Instead of, for example, serving breakfast. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I could totally do that too. But, if you give me the option food or books, you know what I'm gonna go with, right? So I found, by the way, you know, because we were volunteers, they gave us the option of taking one of the books ourselves. And I chose one here that is titled "You Look Like a Thing and I Love You: How Artificial Intelligence Works and Why It's Making the World a Weirder Place." Not surprising, okay, like at least 2 or 3 of the books were about artificial intelligence, because that's all that we seem to be talking about these days, not only in the, you know, academic aspect of things, but everywhere really. So it's really a topic, you know, really a topic that I have my ideas about, and I would probably like to share those with you at one point, so be on the lookout for that. But I chose that book because it seemed like something that was not too academic. It was more like a light introduction to the topic. Plus, it was published a few years ago. I looked at this before, 2019. So you can imagine, from 2019 up to now, the developments in artificial intelligence are just amazing, as they will be the ones from now to, I don't know, 3 days from now or whatever. But very interesting to look at that, I think, and that's the one that I chose. Do you like Ivan Turgenev? I'm a very big fan of his, and I had been looking for a nice copy of this classic Sketches from a Hunter's Album. I had to read the title because sometimes it's translated as A Sportsman's Notebook. They have different titles for this one. This was a classic that kind of opened many doors for realist literature in Russia. So his sketches, his impressions, very, very short texts, you know, that are very enjoyable and that have just such a wonderful style. So I recommend this one to you. This apparently, it says somewhere here, the complete version of it, because there had been abridged versions before, and it's just about 400 pages long, really full of those moments of being, that we could call them that. And I have just a few more things here for you, exactly 3 of them. I found a copy of a movie that I had enjoyed very much when I saw it on Tubi, Untamed Heart. Some people think this movie is weird, you know, and it is kind of a strange movie. It's a little bit, it has its things, right? When I was watching it, at first I was like, okay, yeah, interesting. But then some of the things that happen in the movie, I was like, oh, wait, this is different. This is a different film. And it is a very different film when you compare it to other stuff that you would associate with the genre or with the actors who are involved in this one. For example, here we have Christian Slater, Marisa Tomei, and Rosie Perez. So check it out. When I looked, last time I looked, it was available for free on Tubi. You get some ads and stuff, but I can live with those. You know, if it saves me money, that's okay with me. And as I told you before, only very few of these books are actually new. The Turgenev is new. I went to a bookstore that they just opened here, new bookstore, and I decided, okay, I want to get a nice looking copy of this one because I had not been able to find that, so I went with that. Russian literature, let's stay there for a little bit, because here I have From Desire to Desire by Yevgeny Yevtushenko. So short book of his poems. I have read one of those selected poetry of Yevtushenko before, and I want to read one of his original ones. I believe this is an original one. It comes from with a really nice portrait of him in the back. It's getting dark here. Hopefully it won't rain. I think we had some rain coming today, so we'll see how that plays out. But I'll tell you more about this when I do read it. I do like to make a point of talking a little bit more about poetry, you know. And then the last one, and this was just a coincidence, but I could almost say I saved the best for last. I have a paperback copy of Light in August by, of course, William Faulkner. I have a copy of this. This is another one of those cases. I have a copy of this at the storage. But let me tell you, this is even worse, because the copy that I have there, I don't know why I put it there, because this is a storage with no air conditioning. So basically everything is exposed to the heat, the cold, the humidity, everything. It's really a shame. It's really sad. I am trying to rescue those books. But the copy that I have there is actually the hardcover modern library copy. I have no idea, once again, how I decided to do that. But I'm like, you know, I would like to reread this again. I'm looking at Faulkner and sharing my ideas about him in Spanish. So, you know, I'm going to do one in English at some point, or at least a couple of them, because he really is one of my favorite authors. And this is one of his highest achievements, I believe, Light in August. Not my favorite, not exactly my favorite, but it's up there, okay? So I wanted to get a copy of this since it was only $1 at the library, so that I could read it again one of these days. So that was the book haul. This one was shorter than usual. I think I had less stuff than usual also. I've been trying to be good about not, buying too much, because I'm already running out of space here and at the office. If the office were empty, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But it's not. It's actually the books are piling up there. Someday I'm going to have to make some tough decisions and let some books go. I don't even want to think about that. Let's just leave it there, okay? Do you have any questions, comments, recommendations, recipes? Are there any of these books, movies, CDs? Have you enjoyed them? Stuff that you like, stuff that you dislike? Please let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to receive your comments and, of course, to respond to them. So that was the summer book haul. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful day.